Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called Pay the Invoice. So for starters, I live in a small village where pretty much everyone knows who's who. I like it a lot. It gives me a sense of security that I feel is underrated in today's society. Friends and neighbors help each other with moving, remodeling, etc. My mother-in-law wanted to have her driveway redone. Being the good son that I am, I ordered supplies and got some friends and family members to come and help out on a Saturday, after which there would be some nice cold beers. One of my friends, let's call him John, is more of an outlier and doesn't get around too much. He's a bit timid, but otherwise a very nice guy. I thought it would be a nice idea to include John in the working party so he would get to know some more folks from the village. With the work done and the driveway finished, we thanked everyone that helped for the much appreciated effort. Not too soon afterward, I received a letter. It was an invoice sent by John for the hours he worked, multiplied by a not too shabby hourly rate. To say I was dumbfounded would be an understatement. It is well known that this kind of work is for free. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Or so I thought. I come by John's a few days later to ask him what the invoice is all about. He says it's not a big deal and that he has done it before. He can't be expected to give up his Saturday to work on somebody else's driveway. He says he thinks this is fair and that he wants to be open about it. I soon understand that John isn't going to change his mind and I don't want to get into an argument with him. I pay John myself because I'm rather embarrassed to tell my mother-in-law. A few weeks later we are at a get-together where John happens to be too. A friend who had also helped says he is thinking of redoing his driveway as well and asks what the costs were. My mother-in-law sums up the different supplies and their costs, as well as the beers of course. John is within hearing distance and I see him glance over. Now it is my time. An uncomfortable silence descends upon the party as people frown and look at me and John, whose stature shrivels under the weight of those looks. Suffice to say, John had some explaining to do, but he didn't look so sure anymore. He wanted to be open about it, right? Under the circumstances, I must say the invoice was money well spent, although I lost a friend that day. The next story is called We Have to Follow the Policy. I worked for a small account at a global company. Most of the employees at the site were hourly, with around 10 non-managerial salaried people working for this account, with me being one of the few who worked on site. I'm the head technical employee. On this day I had forgotten my badge at home. The process to receive a temporary badge was to have either your manager or one of the other managers come to the front lobby to sign you in. No big deal. I got the luck of having one of the stupid managers come to sign me in. She was also the same manager who signed me in earlier that month. You are aware of the policy for habitually forgetting your ID badge? Sorry, no. I've not been informed of any policy regarding this. All the managers sent the policy out to everyone via email. You were to sign that you read and understood the policy. My manager works off-site, as do most of us who report to her. She probably did not see the need to send it to the few of us who do work on site. Are you saying you never received the policy email? Positive. You can verify this with her. I'm certain I've not received any emails on any such policy. Since this is your second offense this month, I'm supposed to send you home and not allow you to work today. Really? Well, I can see how that would be a deterrent for the employees. This has become a habit for you. In the past 15 years that I've worked on this account, I've forgotten my badge 3 times. Once around 7 years ago and the other time this same month. That's a trend. If you would rather send me home and not have me work for today, that is in your right. That's what you agreed to in the policy. Again, I never received any such policy, and I believe everyone has to sign a receipt saying they've read the policy and will follow it. If you check with my manager or any on-site manager who might be in control of such a thing for my area, I've not signed any such document. But if that's the policy, I will head home then. I notified my manager they were on vacation and team via email that I was sent home by said manager that day for failing to have a badge for the second time this month. And by the directive, I would not be logging into work, answering emails, attend any meetings, nor address any non-production issue. Please reschedule any meetings with me. You know, for hourly folk, that's a huge deal. A day's pay is a harsh punishment. But for us salaried folk, I get paid if I work or not. A nice relaxing day. Fun fact, never had to deal with that again. Later that quarter, HR struck down this local policy as it was against corporate policy. The third story is called Can't We Get Them Any Quicker? So the orders at my job are coded by color. The color of the box the order is in indicates the type of order. Importantly, green boxes indicate a rush job and red boxes indicate a super rush job. Due to pressures from 2020 and normal wear and tear, we are running short of green and red boxes. Under normal circumstances, the person that's responsible for ordering these supplies would go to the boss and get verbal permission to order more. Being the proactive sort, our supplies guy goes to the boss months before this becomes a problem. Surprisingly, our new boss denies the request. The conversation goes something like this. We need more expedite boxes. Can I order some? Do we have a problem? Well, no, not yet, but we will in a few months. Don't worry about it then. We'll deal with it when it comes up. The supply guy wanted to say something, but the boss interrupted him. Go back to work. I'll handle it when it becomes a problem. So the supply guy shrugs and goes back to work, knowing that it is not his problem anymore. A few months later, the boss finds himself in a panic as to why there aren't enough green and red boxes. Orders that should be rushed aren't going out on time. So the boss goes to the supply guy. Why aren't we getting our orders out on time? We don't have enough expedite boxes for the orders we are getting in. Why didn't you order them? The supply guy shrugs. You told me not to until it became a problem. Well, order some then. Okay, but it'll take a couple of weeks to get here. What? Why? Can't we get them any quicker? Sure, if you want to pay extra. It will still be about a week probably. Fine, but you'll have to come up with a workaround until they get here. This is your fault. The supply guy does in fact come up with a workaround. Cue malicious compliance part 2. Without going into minutia, supply guy comes up with a method that will keep the customers as happy as possible under the circumstances. However, this means longer hours for the team and thus more overtime paid out. The boss's bosses are unhappy with the boss over the extra money spent on the overtime and the rushbox order. The supply guy can't really be gotten in trouble due to both his seniority and capability and the fact that making sure the team is properly supplied is not technically part of his responsibilities. He was also not terribly unhappy about the overtime. The supply guy is hourly, while the boss, who also had to work overtime, is salaried. The last story is called Bad Way to Save Money. This was more than a few years ago when I worked for a lowball medical home health company. I was hired as a respiratory therapist and had an area of roughly 150 miles to cover out from the office. The company had issues with managers as they had quite a high turnover rate. My job was to set up breathing treatment machines, but the most common thing was checking on oxygen concentrators in patients' homes. At the time I would make $25 a visit plus mileage, so I tried to group the patients and hit 3 or 4 at a shot. The patients had to be checked every month and the check lasted about 15 minutes if it was just a fast check. So one day we got a new manager that was really all about saving money and getting the company back on track. He started to streamline departments and all I could hear was things were not done by the book. He called me into the office one day, I work from home mostly, and we had a talk. He said that the cost of driving everywhere was too high for the number of patients I had and asked if we could do something about it. I explained that there was no other way of doing my job than how I was doing it, so he came up with the idea of a phone visit. I explained that I really can't do that because I could not see the equipment and he countered with the drivers see the machines every week and can just spot check to see if they were working. So he made up a worksheet to check off the things I usually look for. He proceeded to say that I can call and have the patients give me the hours used and ask the questions and bill it under a visit, which I can't do cause the code isn't right. So he looks up all our codes for me and picks phone consult and tells me to bill under that. To cover myself, I ask for a letter stating this and he gives it to me the next day. Cue malicious compliance. I got all my patients' numbers at the end of the month and worked through the list and got 34 done in about 4 hours and decided that was enough to make a point. At this time I completed my paperwork and sent it to corporate with a letter from my boss telling me to bill under that type code. A week later I get a check for $4,250 since that phone visit code was $125 per consult, mainly used for ventilators. Not bad for a part-time job. So the next week I do a few more patients and submit my pay. The following week I get a call from corporate asking why I was getting paid more than full-timers in executive posts. I explained everything and forwarded all the documentation to them. A week later, the manager was at his desk when a fleet of cars pulled in, and in walked HR from main office and fired him. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps in the algorithm. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.